about Willie Mays was when I met him for the first time on my first big league day in San Francisco.
Did you really?
Yeah, I had not, Willie was always around once I got called up to the big leagues, and especially the year once we had signed Barry Bonds and brought him over. But the early years, Willie was just back and forth through the locker room. There were many times where there would be, just kind of casual conversations about baseball, and you could sit and listen to Joe Morgan and Willie Mays talking about two different eras of baseball, but baseball nonetheless, and it was baseball from a hitter's perspective. And boy, you talk about being able to learn something if you had some good ears.
Wow. Okay, so Jeff Brantley joining us on the Out of Bounds show, longtime Major League Baseball broadcaster with the Cincinnati Reds. Now he's from the Birmingham area, obviously All-American at Mississippi State, played for the Giants, and sharing some stories on meeting Willie Mays. So you meet Willie Mays the first day you're called up, and he's just kind of a regular around the clubhouse and in the locker room. Did you, at that age, did you get how special and unbelievable that was?
Yeah, I think that I did. When you're early 20s and it's your first day or first week or first year in the big leagues, you try to do whatever you can to act like you belong. So you try to have respectful conversations with a guy like Joe Morgan or with a guy like Willie Mays. But as the years kind of went on, it was more of a kind of a friendship conversation, more of a joking conversation. We'd talk about being from Birmingham and, the days of growing up there and, where I would pitch, and he would always laugh. Well, they never let me play on those fields, and, just those kind of things, and I was so looking forward to him getting an opportunity to go back to Rickwood, which is going to be this Thursday, and just have a time to soak it in, and be honored for being one of the greatest of all time, and kind of go back to where it all began. And now that's not going to happen.
I didn't know this. You may have, because you're from there, until I read the Verducci article this morning, Jeff. I didn't realize that Rickwood Field is the oldest ballpark in America, and it opened August 18th, 1910. Did you know that?
I did know that. And I knew that going all the way back to my senior year in high school. My dad had brought me to a ball game where UAB was playing South Alabama. And at that point in time, I didn't know I was going to Mississippi State. And, both of those schools, South Alabama and UAB, they were recruiting me heavily. And I got to sit and watch a ball game at Rickwood. Now, at that point in time in my life, I had no idea the history of that ballpark. All of that kind of came to fruition as my years in baseball kind of progressed. But, I look back now and I think, wow, I was sitting in a ballpark that Mays, Aaron, I mean, you start going down the list of guys that played that ballpark. It's pretty cool.
Unbelievable. Jeff Brantley on the Out of Bounds show, now Major League Baseball broadcaster, Cincinnati Reds from the Birmingham area. We're talking Willie Mays, who he was fortunate enough to meet and get to know as a friend, as Willie Mays was around the San Francisco Giants post-retirement. What was he like? As intimidating is not the word. Was he approachable? Well, I mean, as you're getting comfortable with as you're getting comfortable with the San Francisco Giants and finding your role, was he just totally approachable as a player to a former player?
Yeah, you could ask him anything, but you better be ready for a frank answer, because there was no beating around the bush with Willie. He'd tell you straight up. If you asked him, should I have thrown a breaking ball there, or what do you think about a fastball in this situation? And he'd look at you and he'd go, well, I wouldn't throw your breaking ball there. He'd tell you straight up. and he'd laugh. I mean, he was a very jovial guy, but he was truth to the core. And I mean, that he was that way all the way up until his, late 80s. I mean, he just put it out there for you. And I mean, that's what I loved about him, because you could always ask him something, but he was going to give you the blunt, honest truth. And, when you're a kid, and just especially an early major leaguer, everybody's kind of patting you on the back and kind of trying to ease you along. And sometimes you just need the cold, hard truth. And Willie would flat give it to you.
Wow. So you're at the what year did you get called up, Jeff? 87, 86,
88.
88. Okay. What? 88 was 89 the Earthquake World Series?
Yes, it was.
Okay. So you're there, Will's there, several other amazing players. Y'all had some really good teams, but it almost became, I mean, help me out here, commonplace for Willie Mays, Joe Morgan, or Bond Sr. to be hanging around the clubhouse and locker room, right?
Oh yeah. The part that you remember once you're done playing is those conversations that you're sitting and you're actually not in the conversation, but you're in the locker room and you're close by and you can hear Willie and Bobby, Joe Morgan. They're just kind of going in circles and they're popping each other for this or for that. And then they're talking about what happened last night in the game, what we should have done, what they should have thrown in a certain situation. You're talking about three top-notch big league hitters, and all three of them, I mean, they would lay it right out there for you. There was no beating around the bush. And I mean, I just absolutely loved it. Just to be able to sit there and talk baseball and listen to the old guys talking about how you get it done. And from a pitcher's perspective, you're listening to them to what they're looking for, what they're going to hit, or how they want to approach an at bat. It was totally different than anything I had ever known in my life. But what a learning experience.
Unbelievable. Jeff Brantley played at Mississippi State, longtime major leaguer, obviously with the Giants and the Reds for a long time, MLB broadcaster for over 20 years. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line. So you've got Willie Mays, Bond Sr., Joe Morgan. I mean, you had Roger Craig, who's one of the best as far as pitching coaches ever. I mean, that's remarkable, kind of what was going on during that time, Jeff.
It is. And the crazy part about all of that is all three of those guys are gone, all four, if you include Roger Craig. And when you start talking about the truly greatest of all time, Willie Mays has to be in that conversation.
Yes.
And I think there are a lot of people that would throw Joe Morgan in that conversation. But I think ultimately at the end of the day, we're losing our legends, man. I mean, we're losing them. And that's a tough pill to swallow when you've been beside those guys and they've kind of held your hand a little bit when you were a baby big leaguer. It's just it's a sad day. I'll be honest with you. It's just a sad day.
What year did you leave the San Francisco Giants, Jeff?
After the 1993 season. That's when I went to Cincinnati.
Okay. I was watching an interview with Tom Brady, who grew up in the Bay Area, and they asked him about one of his most special pivotal moments as a kid. And he said, I got to be a bat boy for the San Francisco Giants as a kid, which was when you and Will were there, Jeff.
That's too funny.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, he grew up in the Bay Area. And anyway, we're visiting with Jeff Brantley on the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. How have you been doing, man? How's everything going?
All is good. All is good. We are in Pittsburgh today. It is hotter than blazes. Of course, I don't have to tell Mississippi folks that. They know all about the hotter than blazes. But normally this time of the year, it's not this warm in Pittsburgh, but it is approaching 100 degrees. So it is amazing that we're playing without rain, because normally up in this area, when it gets this hot, it just starts raining.
How many games will you call this year for the Reds?
I will call somewhere around 140, 145, right in there. Both back. I'm TV today, but normally I'm doing radio, and then I'll switch back and forth doing TV some as we continue throughout the year. I just try to flip back and forth.
Okay. Jeff Brantley on the Out of Bounds show. I can't remember what you told us in studio a couple years ago. Is it radio you like better or TV?
I do.
Yeah.
I like radio.
That's what I thought.
I'm not all about all that coat and tie dressing up. I like to be able to talk about the game and show up in my cowboy boots.
Yeah.
That's just kind of, I mean, there are a lot of people that like having their face on the tube. That's all fine and good. And I don't mind that every once in a while, but I just like being able to create the word pictures for the folks that are listening. And in Cincinnati, it is a monstrous radio market. And, that's just kind of where I've made my name, and that's where I'm going to keep my name.
For our listeners, Jeff's joined us in studio several times, and a couple of years ago he shared this story. They go on this, and Jeff can fill in after I tee this up. The Cincinnati Reds go on this caravan, this thing around the state, maybe in February or something before the season starts, and they have over 100 affiliates for Cincinnati Reds baseball in Ohio, to give you an idea of what Jeff's saying, how important it is. There will be hundreds of thousands, if not seven figures of people tuning in today for the Reds game via radio and TV. And so I'm asking Jeff these questions, and he's like, yeah, so we go through all these wonderful small towns and da-da-da. And I said, so they know you? He said, well, they know me as Cowboy Red. Isn't that right, Jeff?
They know me as the Reds Cowboy.
Reds Cowboy. Right. That's right. That's right. So
I'll walk into the grocery store or wherever it is that, I'm at in Cincinnati, or a restaurant, and, I may have a reservation for Jeff Brantley, but when they see me, it's not Jeff. It's, oh, hey, Cowboy, what's up? It's just kind of that's just the way it is. I don't know that I'm any more cowboy than anybody else in Mississippi, but when you're wearing cowboy boots, for some reason, folks just think you're the cowboy.
That's so good. All right, I got one or two more minutes. Now, when you were with the Reds, what kind of crossover was it with Ken Griffey Jr.? Help me out.
Junior, I did not really have a crossover with Junior.
No, that's right. He was with the Mariners throughout the 90s and then went to the Reds. I got it.
And then he came to the Reds when I was a broadcaster. Now, his dad was our first base coach when I came to the Reds. So
okay.
I've kind of gotten to know both of those guys in a pretty good way.
Okay.
But I did not play with Junior. He was in the American League when I was in the National League, and that just never really crossed. We really didn't start playing interleague till the very end of my career.
Right. Yeah, and I knew that because in college in the mid-'90s, I would watch the Mariners late night with Griffey, A-Rod, Buhner, and that whole group because that was right when we started getting West Coast baseball at like 11 o'clock at night. I knew that. I had a brain freeze. Well, and you know all about that because your time with ESPN and so on. Hey, dude, I can't thank you enough for taking some time today and sharing some story. You were, man, I knew you had, you've had an unbelievable career. You've met some amazing people, but man, as you get older, you just have to pinch yourself, don't you? Willie Mays and Joe Morgan and all these people you've been around, Jeff.
Yeah, it's, I've been awfully fortunate. I don't know that, you could ask for a better blessing than what baseball's been for me and my family, my kids, and continues to be to this day. Not only meeting all of these folks that everybody holds in such high regard, but it's just been a great experience for me, and I pinch myself every morning.
Well, we appreciate the time. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you again during the off season.
All right, Bo. Take care, man. Great talking to you.
Jeff Brantley. Fantastic. Sharing some Willie Mays stories. Also, Joe Morgan, Bond Sr., going through. I mean, it was just another day at the San Francisco Giants clubhouse and locker room in the 80s with Jeff Brantley and Will Clark. And they had some great teams there. And Roger Craig, his manager's known as one of the best pitching coaches in the history of the game. Jeff Brantley joined us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line, and that was fun. And he's known as Reds Cowboy. When he told that story, Jackson, he was like, Bo, you understand, we go through the state. You know how Ole Miss and Mississippi State just did the barbecue circuit where they go to Tupelo, Jackson, Gulfport or Biloxi in the Delta, and then they hit Atlanta, Houston, and maybe Nashville or something. With the Reds, they go to all these towns. And he told us at one point, I want to say it was like 104 affiliates. I want you to think about that. Even today. I mean, streaming and everything I get. But the Reds have over 100 affiliates in Ohio. And, of course, we all know about, y'all know how nuts they went over the Big Red Machine, right, with Rose and Morgan and all those guys. But that was good. Jeff Brantley was part of the San Francisco 49ers for San Francisco Giants for years. And Willie Mays was just – can you imagine, Jackson, just hanging around the clubhouse and Willie Mays is there talking ball? And then it becomes kind of, well, it's a Monday. Willie Mays is here. It's a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Joe Morgan, and so on. And Joe Morgan was a phenomenal Major League Baseball broadcaster. And then Willie Mays was Barry Bonds' godfather, right? So you saw some of the clips this morning of Bonds and both Bonds and Mays. All right, good morning. Welcome in. That was a good way to wrap up the show. Jackson Meadows, what do you think about that? Jeff Brantley?
That, man. Big fan. I mean, it obviously, I mentioned knowing that Willie was highly involved regardless. And, a lot of those guys are like, when you're one of those type players, you're going to be involved with that organization for quite a long time.
Sure.
What better person to be around than,
as a pitcher, you're listening to Willie Mays, the greatest or one of the greatest hitters of all time, give you feedback, ideas, what he's seeing, the do's, the don'ts, and all that. Joe Morgan.
Specialize.
Hall of Famer, Cincinnati Reds. Bond.
Bad man.
I know. And then Bonds Jr., comes into the organization, but Bonds Sr. is there too. That's cool. And now he's with the Reds. And, of course, Joe Morgan's tied to the Reds too. Yeah. Was and so always will be.
Big Red Machine.
100 degrees.
That's crazy. I didn't know it was like that in Cincy right now. That's
Pittsburgh,
sorry. Yeah, I tell you, that's Derek's place. There in Georgia.
I love that he's like, I like to do radio. I can just wear a golf shirt.
Yeah.
And my cowboy boots and call the game and get out.
Yeah.
When you're on TV, makeup.
Oh, God.
Get dressed up, Yeah,
that's way worse. Yeah, back in the day, I thought that would be cool.
Right.
I think everyone does it, right?
Sure.
Yeah, that's the thing, especially, even into college, like, yeah, that'd be great. But, nah. Yeah, nah. That's so much work. And I try to do as little work as possible.
I can tell.
Yeah, I do what I can.
Speaking of, what kind of jacket do you have on today?
Oh, it's a, I'm yogaed out today. It's a Nike yoga jacket.
A Nike yoga jacket.
Nike yoga shorts and a Lululemon shirt.
All right, so that's it's kind of a open.
Yeah, it's real light.
Yeah.
It's real stretchy in case I decide to stretch.
Which you wouldn't.
Highly doubtful.
Yeah.
No, it's highly doubtful.
But I love that you wear athletic wear.
It's
what would you say, 95% of the time?
Not even higher.
And you don't work out?
Oh God, no. I remember the day it happened. I was playing a basketball camp at MRA.
Really?
Yep. I remember the day I decided. I was like, that's what's going to happen right there with me. I am going to, because a guy walked by. I was like, dang, that guy. He looked great. Nike down, everything matched. I was like.
You probably saw an AAU coach.
I kind
of make fun of AAU coaches in the tracksuits.
It was an AAU camp.
So
I feel quite confident.
then you were like, I want to emulate.
Yeah, he was probably the only white guy around for a little while, and he ended up dunking a couple times. Like, man, I was in like 7th or 8th grade.
Right.
I was like, I'm in. Yeah, whatever that guy's doing, I'm in. He'd say he had some Nikes on, and I was like, all right, I'm in. So that started it.
So right now you've got on shorts, athletic shorts?
Yes, not yet, yoga shorts.
Yoga shorts.
Yep. And
a yoga
jacket.
Nike
jacket with a Lululemon shirt.
With a Lululemon shirt.
How about it?
All right.
Lulu's partying, man. They got some good stuff going on over there.
It's expensive?
Yeah, you got to know where to shop.
Okay.
They got deals, man. There's always a deal. You just got to know how to work it.
Hey, is there anybody that's always talking about a deal more than you?
There can't be. I have a reason, though, man. Law of averages.
Law of averages.
If I talk about enough of them, one of them's got to happen.
That's true. Do you have on Nike shoes right now?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I do, yeah. And Nike socks, yeah, for sure.
And Nike socks.
Yeah, we're Nike.
All right.
Got to.
Cool,
but, I mean, right, like, law of averages is going to pan out there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess
you can't go 0 for 100. Surely not. You got to hit on something.
All right. Thanks for listening to the show. Jackson Meadows is wearing yoga gear today, so he'll fit in perfectly downstairs at Beagle Bagel. We are the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone, and we are brought to you by Core Wellness and Recovery. If you're seeing some hair loss, you got to get on it early. They have something called TED, Hair Restoration. It is a device piece of equipment they have invested heavily into. They're having a lot of success with males and females. Free consultation to kind of set you up and see what all you need to do. Core Wellness and Recovery in the Township. They also have IV therapy, red light therapy, and cryotherapy. But they have the TED Hair Restoration piece, Core Wellness and Recovery in the Township across from San Bracia.